You might have seen a map of New York City's subway lines or 5 boroughs, but you've probably never seen a map of New York City's gang war. This isn't the Bloods versus Crips or Gangster Disciples versus Black Disciples. New York City's gang war plays by a completely different set of rules. Take Brooklyn, for example. In Brownsville, the neighborhood with the highest concentration of public housing projects in the country, rival gangs are packed into an area known as the 1 Square Mile War. Here, two massive overarching alliances, the Wu and Chu, are locked in a brutal war against each other. But the chaos doesn't stop there.
It's the cheap challenge. It's the cheap challenge. It's the cheap challenge. King Buddha, it's never too late to awake you. King Buddha, it's never too late for mistake to. King Buddha, it's never too late to awake you. King Buddha, it's never too late for mistake to. King Buddha, shut up or shut up. King Buddha, shut up or shut up.
Do chat, what it do, chat, what it do. Welcome to this episode. Today we got a jam-packed episode for you guys. It's your boy King Buddha, aka Chief from the Cheat Challenge. And today we have a great episode for all the people out there who don't really seem to grasp the idea of what drill music is all about, what fuels drill music. Well, it's all gang culture, chat. It is gang culture. And today we will be showing you all of the territory that gangs hold in New York. And of course, chat, we're reacting to this content. So this is not our content. So guys, be mindful that these are just opinions. And a lot of it could be alleged. But if I were you, I would pay attention to this video, as this video here will be outlining the places you might not want to be playing certain type of music in. Now, let's take it from there. And here we are, my peoples. Let's get right into it.
You might have seen a map of New York City's subway lines or 5 boroughs, but you've probably never seen a map of New York City's gang war. This isn't the Bloods versus Crips or Gangster Disciples versus Black Disciples. New York City's gang war plays by a completely different set of rules. Take Brooklyn, for example. In Brownsville, the neighborhood with the highest concentration of public housing projects in the country, rival gangs are packed into an area known as the 1 Square Mile War. Here, two massive overarching alliances, the Wu and Chu, are locked in a brutal war against each other. But the chaos doesn't stop there. Beneath those umbrellas are dozens of smaller sets and internal wars, all fighting over the same blocks.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, in Queens, entire neighborhoods like Shadyville have been controlled by gangs made up of teenagers, some as young as 14, carrying out shootings in broad daylight.
I don't know
and
what
in the Bronx, the war has become even more public, where drill rappers, Instagram lives, diss tracks, and federal indictments all feed into the same cycle of violence. From street crews in Brooklyn and the Bronx, to Dominican gangs in Washington Heights, Chinese street gangs in Chinatown, and even the 5 Italian mafia families still embedded across the city, our team spent hours mapping every gang down to the exact streets that they control. This is the New York City gang war map.
Now, guys, pay close attention so you don't go overstep any lines and find yourself as an innocent bystander, because I'm going to tell you, they do count those hats anyway. So let me tell you, in my hood, it don't matter if you're innocent, they're going to count the hat. You feel me? So let's get right into it.
To understand one of the biggest rivalries in this war, we need to zoom into the 1 Square Mile War centered in the Brownsville neighborhood. As mentioned in the intro, Brownsville has the highest concentration of public housing projects in the country, and most of the gangs are based out of these projects. Most of the sets in this region are either under the Wu Alliance or the Chu Alliance. But these aren't single unified gangs with one leader calling every shot.
Absolutely
The Chu's
not.
main sets are based in the Howard Houses, Tilden Houses, Marcus Garvey Village, the Riverdale Towers, and Newport Gardens, while the Wu main sets are based in the Seth Low Houses, Van Dyke Houses, Langston Hughes Houses, the Brownsville Houses, and the Noble Drew Ali Plaza. Chu members living in the Marcus Garvey Village and Tilden houses means that by crossing one street, Dumont Avenue, they're entering into enemy territory.
That's a fact.
On April 22nd, 2023, Chu member Brian Ramos and two other of his gang brothers walked into the Van Dyke housing projects. They approached a playground where children were playing and then spotted some of their rival.
Whoa.
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
It already sounds like it went crazy. It sounds like it's about to be a shootout. Let me just tell you that.
Fire, unleashing multiple of their rival Woos across the park. They opened fire, unleashing multiple rounds, and then fled the scene. Thankfully, nobody was injured, but the message was clear. Even a children's playground in broad daylight could become part of the gang war. Then on August 1st, 2023, Wu member Deshaun Nimmons was walking with a group of his friends when they spotted a Chu member named Jeffrey Thomas inside a barbershop getting a haircut. This barbershop is called Champion Cuts and is in Wu territory at 557 Chester Street. Wu member Nimmons pulled a mask over his face, pulled out a gun, and fired into the barbershop, hoping to hit Jeffrey Thomas. Seconds later, Jeffrey emerged from the barbershop unhit and then returned fire at the group. No Wu members were hit, but a 69-year-old innocent bystander was struck in the torso as he was taking out the trash. This shows the violence extends outside just the housing projects, where innocent bystanders are often caught in the crossfire. This Wu versus Chu rivalry features some of the biggest names in rap, too. Pop Smoke and Bobby Shmurda were both part of sets in the Wu Alliance, where Pop Smoke even titled one of his albums, Meet the Wu. Although in interviews, Pop Smoke would be sure to show that he's a loyal 092 gang member, a smaller set within the Wu Alliance.
I'm gonna ask you a question, I'm saying it ain't really hot or nothing like that, but yo, so like when niggas be saying Wu, they talking about y'all niggas.
They talk about the whole floor. Let me tell you something. I'm on our too. All that Wu shit, listen, I'm on our too. You heard, like,
on our fucking
from the floors, you feel me? You know, owners right now, like, you know, owners.
The owners?
While Pop Smoke was tragically killed in California, Bobby Shmurda's rise was cut short when he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. He was sentenced to prison for his role in GS9, a Brooklyn street gang connected to the larger Wu Alliance. In addition to Bobby's GS9 set, most of these housing complexes represent a different set of the Wus and Chus. For example, in the Van Dyke projects, the set of the Wu Alliance here are the Brothers Over Everything, or BOE gang. And then just across the Mother Gaston Boulevard in the Brownsville and Langston Hughes houses are the Only My Brothers, or OMB gang. As for the Chu Alliance in the region, the people in the Tilden houses are known as Jew, or Just on Her Own gang. The Chus in the Marcus Garvey Village go by Hood Stars, and the Chus in the Riverdale homes go by Newport. With all these different sets and projects in the 1 square mile war, even Wu and Chu alliances fall apart where different sets will turn on each other. Very recently, on April 15th, 2026, 36 Wu and Chu members were arrested in a 188-count indictment that connects them to dozens of shootings across Brownsville. You can see how young these gang members are, where all 36 arrested were between the ages of 16 to 27 years old. But the Wus and Chus aren't the only ones running the streets of Brooklyn. South Brooklyn has its own gang war going on. Down near Sheepshead Bay, Brighton Beach, Coney Island, and Gravesend, some of the most dominant gangs are tied to the 59 Brims and Bloodhound Brims. These gangs are more spread out than the 1 square mile war, but have also recently found themselves in a massive indictment.
These are just some of the alleged members of the 59 Brims Bloodhound Brims gang. 14 of them, including a 15-year-old, were charged with a 129-count indictment on murder and weapons possession for violent crimes committed throughout the Sheepshead Bay and Coney Island neighborhoods in 2021 and 2022.
After a failed attempt to target a rival, leaked text messages show that one member was frustrated when nobody was killed. A 59 Brims member, Antone, was asking about how it was a bad drill, and the others responded because nobody was hit. Other members were seen saying things like, "Somebody's supposed to be in critical condition, gangsta. It was 4 of y'all, and we just gotta hit our targets. That's it. That's all, baby." But Brooklyn is only one borough. Once you move north and east into Queens, the gang war starts to look much different. In Queens, most of the violence spreads across Jamaica, South Jamaica, and Queens Village, where teenagers have turned ordinary neighborhoods into a battleground. And speaking of a battleground, I feel like trying to manage a small business today is a battle in itself. Even for me trying to manage this YouTube channel, dealing with invoices, emails, accounting, a team, and creating that's what I platform where I'm to and then value towards that life.
Sorry,
with
buddy.
You get access to try it out. Of Queens Village, known as Shadyville. Shadyville became the home base for the Badco Ballout Gang. This is a larger alliance made up mainly of 55 neighborhood Crips and self-made Makbalas. The leader of the Badco gang is a 21-year-old named Javon Adapoko. On the streets, though, he goes by Shady and is the leader of Shadyville. Shady would distribute loaded firearms out of his Queens Village home and would supply these to younger gang members, often just 14 or 15 years old. He would give these young teenagers permission to go after their rivals in the area. And this is actually a common practice across Queens.
And they say the gang leader of the A-Train moving Crips was actually a 33-year-old man who started training teens as young as 14, training them how to pull the trigger and who to shoot.
Wow.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free
somebody could tell me that guy was
e-commerce
not
store,
military, 'cause that would be
preloaded.
One of these young gang members, named Sean Chang, was nicknamed Broad Day for his success in carrying out shootings in broad daylight. But even Shady wasn't afraid to carry out the hits himself. In November 2022, class had just been dismissed at North Queens Community High School. 18-year-old Mark Green was waiting for the bus outside the school on Main Street and 77th Avenue. Shady and another Badco gang member traveled from Queens Village into rival territory looking for Mark Green. To the Badco gang, this wasn't just about going after another rival. It was a message that even outside of Shadyville and even outside of a school in broad daylight, their rivals weren't safe. As students were leaving for the day, Shady and other gang members opened fire. Students who had just walked out of class ran back into the school as shots rang out on the street. When EMS arrived, Mark Green was found face down on the pavement. He was taken to Jamaica. Fortunately, didn't survive.
Wow, they hit.
But the fact that this happened outside of the North Queens community.
That's a drill. They caught their target, and now here's the crazy part. Remember, in the last video, in the like a couple of seconds before, they were talking about how they went out on a drill and they were mad they ain't catch nobody. So I think this was like it was a must that they was gonna catch Mark.
The high school made the situation even darker. North Queens isn't a normal community, didn't survive. But the fact that this happened outside of the North Queens Community High School made the situation even darker. North Queens isn't a normal high school. It's a transfer school designed for students who are already behind or already struggling. The school's graduation rate is just 54%. So for many of the teenagers walking out of the building, school was supposed to be the thing that kept them away from the violence. But that afternoon, violence followed them right to the front door. But Queens is still mostly a block-by-block war shaped by smaller crews and neighborhood beef. In the Bronx, the gang violence is much more coordinated, more public, and far more famous. The major gangs in the Bronx are the YGs, the DOA gang, the OGs, the Slattery gang, and the OYs, which are mostly based in Manhattan.
Chat, let's go back a little bit.
The OGs, the Slattery gang, and the OYs.
All right, let's stop right there. Chat. Let me show you. This is my neighborhood. So a lot of these areas I kind of already know. See, DOA gang, this is the area where I'm living currently. So I can't really tell you where that part is, right? That's DOA gang. They're gonna touch on it. Slattery, that's where my homegirl Zamira lives. That's where, all the this is close to my hood. My hood is over here, Tremont and Creston, right? It's over here somewhere. This is 183rd and Valentine, right? Slattery Park is right on 183rd and Valentine. Literally around the corner from that, there's a police precinct that I'm suing right now. So chat, this shit is real. Let me just tell you. And then down here, this is like Mott Haven area, like 161st and shit like that. Like not even like 149 by Lincoln Hospital. So that's where this is going on. And then OG's, OY's gang right here. This right here is okay. So if this is Slattery Park, this is my hood. This right here is River Park Towers. This is the River Park Towers right here. YGs. That's River Park Towers. That's probably, you got D-Thang and them and shit like that. You got all the YGs guys. Then OY's gang. This is still down the block. This is man. If this is River Park Towers, this gotta be Manhattan. This gotta be Manhattan. Because this got to be the whole river right here. If this is YG's, this is the river. I'm gonna say it before we even he explains it, just to show you the common knowledge of the streets that we got out here. And then this, I could tell you, this is Lincoln Center. This is Mott Haven kind of area. You know what I'm saying? But you know where the DOA area is the biggest one, because this is all of like St. Barnabas. Like St. Barnabas Hospital is like somewhere around here. This is Little Italy. This is it's a lot of territory. As you can see, they're the biggest. And then they're over here too. No, these are OGs. These are the same. These are like a combination. OGs, YGs spread out to down here and up there. But these kind of all roll together if you really look at it. And they all kind of got beef with DOA, who just recently started calling themselves EBK. So we're going to get right into that.
Which are mostly based in Manhattan, but are still very much relevant to the Bronx gang war for a reason we'll dive into. Similar to Brooklyn, these gangs control much of the public housing complexes across the Bronx. If we start out with the YGs, this gang controls Mott Haven, Patterson, and the River Park Towers to the north. In the south, around Mott Haven and Patterson.
Now you see, Chad, validity. I'm just letting you see by validity. Yo, from the BX, baby.
Much of the YG's beef is with the OG's gang nearby. The OGs are primarily located in the Melrose and Jackson housing projects. They often go by Cortlandt over everything for having significant control over Cortlandt Avenue. Much of the violence along Cortlandt Avenue today stems back from one night on April 16th, 2012.
The secret life of your Mac.
Ex-girlfriend Jemida from that area. Shouts to Pinky.
YGs were all drinking together in a bar. At a certain point, a debate broke out over which member puts in the most work for the gang. Nobody could agree who's the toughest member of the gang, so they decided to head into rival territory and find some ops or rivals. The YGs walked into the OG's territory in the Melrose houses. When the YGs got there, they spotted a 16-year-old.
Chad, thank God that it wasn't me that day walking outside, arguing with my shorty, then going outside to just smoke a blunt, and these motherfuckers ran up on me.
OG's member.
Because what's about to happen, Chad, was crazy overdue.
Noah Balla. The group of 20 YGs attacked the 16-year-old and began stomping on him until he was unconscious. Sadly,
they pretty much stomped him to death, Chad.
Noah was stomped to death that night right outside his own building. There wasn't a single gang member in the Bronx who didn't hear about Noah's death. After this brutal attack, the YGs suddenly had enemies all—
That's crazy because think about it, Chad. Usually it's like shooting, stabbing, but to stomp a human like a roach until they die is insane.
Across the Bronx. One of their biggest rivals became DOA, a name that stands for Dead on Arrival, or also sometimes stands for—
Yup, that's K-Flock in them. You got K-Flock, you got B-Love, you got—
for dumping on anything. The feud between DOA and the YGs had already been building, but it exploded after the death of Tanky Balla. Tanky was connected to Third Side, one of the groups under the larger DOA umbrella. According to reports, he was out looking for rivals when he crossed paths with members of 800 YGs, a specific YG set. During that encounter, Tanky was shot and killed.
Wow.
And because he was one of the most well-known people connected to DOA, his death turned an already tense rivalry into a much larger war. A few years later in 2021, famous drill rapper K
you
Flock
go.
got in a heated public Instagram
the
live
guy.
argument with another drill rapper, Raw G's.
Oh, man,
K
yeah,
Flock
they-
belonged to DOA, and Raw G's was part of the YGs.
You never did nothing to me. You never even, bro. That was my first time.
Bro, you're a cat. You never did nothing to me though. Really though. Really never did nothing to me. I really did shit to Dougie though. What about my mother?
Oh, hell
K
no.
Flock became notorious for going on Instagram live in rival gangs' territories.
Hey, what's up?
They don't want to come out.
Look how comfortable I am on this block. Them niggas all
That's where
in
the
there.
pool's at.
Them niggas is pussy.
K Flock would film himself driving around in YG's territory to show how comfortable and confident he was. But the crazy part is, nothing would ever happen to him. Raw G saw this and then challenged K Flock to come back.
Somebody tag K-Flock. Somebody tag K-Flock. Niggas not playing. Come right back. Outside right now as we speak. You coming through hard and all live, blocking niggas off your lives so niggas can't see your shit. Like, what's up? Pop out. We outside here. Yo, K-Flock, pop out. Pop out right now. Right now as we speak. You wanna make shows? You wanna make shows too? Pop out.
K Flock would then go back on Instagram live the next day and threaten his rivals even more.
This is-
IUBK, because anybody could get shot.
Oh.
You ain't safe. You ain't good. You ain't good. I ain't gonna lie. You're not good.
K Flock began rapping in May of 2020. He quickly gained traction in the Bronx drill scene by releasing popular songs like Op Spotter and Brotherly Love
Brotherly
before
Love is
dropping
my
his
shit.
debut mixtape in 2021, the DOA tape. K Flock became one of
That's
the
a good
most
tape.
popular
I'll tell you
rappers
that.
the Bronx had ever seen, but unfortunately, his rise to fame wouldn't last much longer. On December 16th, 2021, K Flock was walking down West 151st Street in Harlem with his sister and a friend. They spotted one of their rival ops in a barbershop. The op in this barbershop was an original youngin' or OY gang member named Oscar Hernandez. This section of Harlem that the barbershop was in OY territory and is more widely known as Sugar Hill. Oscar saw K Flock was in his gang's territory and walked out of the barbershop to confront him. What happened next wasn't on security cam footage, but there was apparently a brief dispute, and then K Flock pulled out a firearm and shot Oscar in the neck and back. K Flock successfully fled the scene and was hiding back in the Bronx, but 7 days later, he turned himself in to the NYPD. K Flock's defense team argued that K Flock was acting in self-defense, and the jury ultimately agreed. Hernandez was also armed, and K Flock was acquitted of the murder charge, but that didn't mean he was free to go home. Federal prosecutors had built a much larger case against him, accusing K Flock of being a leader in the Southside and DOA gang under the RICO Act. Instead of focusing only on the Oscar Hernandez shooting, the feds argued that K Flock was part of a much broader pattern of violence, including attempted murders in 2020 and 2021, and that his music helped fuel the gang's streak of violence. His defense beat the murder charge, but it could not beat the larger federal RICO case. In the end, K Flock was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, cutting short what had been one of the fastest rising careers in Bronx rap.
That's crazy.
Back where K Flock shot Oscar Hernandez, the Sugar Hill-based OY gang was outraged. The OYs dominate Sugar Hill, which spans from 151st Street to 159th Street, centered around Amsterdam Avenue and St. Nicholas Avenue. Through rappers like DD Osama, Sugar Hill D-Dot, and E-Dot Baby,
Yeah,
Sugar Hill
I
has
fucks with
become
them
one of
too.
the most recognizable names in New York drill.
They got good
But
music,
inside
yeah.
the OY gang, they haven't always been fully united. In 2021, Sugar Hill
Baby
Keem, a high-ranking OY member and rapper, accused another Sugar Hill rapper named Blockwork for cooperating with the police. Keem claimed that Blockwork had worked with the officers to get himself released from jail while other members stayed locked up.
Nasty work.
Almost immediately, major OY figures like DD Osama and Sugar Hill D-Dot sided with Keem. Blockwork denied the accusation through social media posts where he tried to clear his name. But
Oh,
by
yeah,
then,
admit to
the
that.
split was already growing. Some parts of Sugar Hill became Team Keem, while other parts became Team Blockwork. OY members who supported Blockwork were harassed for standing with someone who others believed was a snitch. Eventually, Blockwork broke away from OY completely and released Switch Sides, a song built around his separation from the gang. Those who sided with Blockwork may have split off and went independent, but the vast majority of the OY gang was looking to grow much further. And in 2020, the largest gang alliance that the Bronx had ever seen started to form.
I'll make you a bet. Try Whisper Flow once, just once, and I bet you'll never go back to typing. Next time you open ChatGPT,
The OGs began uniting with the OYs and the DOA gang to create an alliance called the O to the Sev. This alliance was formed to go after the YGs, the other large gang in the Bronx. Like a lot of the New York gang alliances, it was held together by music and mutual enemies. But also, like many of the New York gang alliances, those connections can easily break apart. The O to the Sev alliance began to crumble due to internal tensions involving E.Baby. E.Baby was one of the leaders of the OIs. E.Baby had been seen in a video smoking and associating with members of the opposition, specifically the YGs. K-Flock and the DOA gang took this as a major sign of disrespect and demanded that the OGs side with them and denounce E.Baby. E.Baby went to Instagram and posted that he never smoked with an op. The OGs believed E.Baby and didn't want to split from the OIs, so the DOA gang left, leaving the OGs and the OIs in an alliance. This was a Manhattan and Bronx alliance that became the primary rival to K-Flock's DOA gang. The alliance was made even stronger after the tragic death of the OI member Nadia Osama. Nadia Osama was killed in July 2022 after a confrontation with a 15-year-old rival spilled into the 137th Street subway station in Harlem. Nadia and another person chased the rival gang member onto the platform. Nadia hit the rival in the head with a broomstick. The rival team then pulled out a knife and struck Nadia once in the abdomen. Nadia later died in the hospital.
A 15-year-old boy has been charged with killing another teen on a subway platform yesterday.
The crazy shit about that chat was that Nadia Osama was the one who saw the op and chased him into the train station, backed him into a corner with the broomstick, beating the dude with the broomstick, and then the dude just pulled out a knife and stabbed him. He would have never chased the op for no reason. He would have just saw him and be whatever, you know what I mean? But look, the nigga was ready for him.
His death was mocked by rival gang members in a dance called the Naughty Bop. Teens would even get their unknowing teachers to participate in the dance.
Naughty bopping, punch in my head. Like, come here, gotta do it like this.
The OGs rallied behind the OIs during the Naughty Bop era. But although the OGs and the OIs attempted to maintain their secondary alliance, the pressure of high-profile deaths, musical egos, and even some RICO indictments eventually shattered the alliance. Today, the OGs have retreated to their Cortlandt Avenue strongholds. While the OGs, YGs, and the DOA gang have become the most recognizable names in Bronx drill, another gang is gaining its own violent reputation further north. Around Slattery Playground on East 183rd Street.
Right here, and I know you guys don't know this, but I bet you know that one of the most famous rappers from the Slattery gang is none other than Little TJ.
The Slattery gang became one of the most feared crews in the area, and what made them especially unique is that their leader was an 18-year-old girl. Nay Benz, a drill rapper from the 183rd Street area, stepped up as the shot caller for the Slattery gang.
Nay Benz, police say you're a trigger puller. Police say you're a trigger puller. Is that true? What? Police say you're a trigger puller. Is that?
In August 2024, Nay Benz, along with 19 other Slattery gang members, were hit with a massive 176-count indictment. The long indictment included charges related to attempted murder, first-degree robbery, and carjacking, as well as criminal possession of a weapon. Prosecutors used Nay Benz's drill music and social media posts as evidence for the charges. But not every gang in New York operates like the drill crews. Some are much older, more organized, and built around a more solid structure. A perfect example of this are the extremely powerful Dominican gangs in New York like the Trinitarios.
Let's go.
The Trinitarios were founded in the late 1980s and are based in the Dominican neighborhoods like Washington Heights and the West Bronx.
You know what separates these guys from all these other gangs? That these guys do it with machetes.
Unlike the drill gangs we've talked about, the Trinitarios operate with a much more formal hierarchy. At the top are the leaders, often referred to as first chairs. Beneath them are the second chairs, and then at the bottom are the soldiers who carry out the orders on the streets. This structure makes the gang harder to crack because taking down one local crew doesn't necessarily destroy the larger network behind it. But like the drill gangs, the Trinitarios are also divided into many different sets that don't always get along with each other. One of the most famous examples of this exploded in 2018 in the Belmont section of the Bronx. That night, 15-year-old Lisandro Jr. Guzman Feliz was being chased through the streets by members of the Los Suertes set of the Trinitarios. They believed Junior
This was so crazy because it was Trinitarios versus Trinitarios.
Was connected to a rival set, but they actually had the wrong person. Junior wasn't part of any gang at all. Junior ran into a bodega near East 100.
And the worst part of it all, chat, the only reason he got killed was because the guy from the bodega gave him to the guys from who was trying to kill him. If the guy from the bodega would have closed the doors, he would have saved his life. But they literally tossed him back over the counter.
83rd Street.
Yo, Chad, the day this happened was so heartbreaking because everybody in New York started getting these random WhatsApp videos. And it was like you couldn't stop it. They would just come to your phone. So even if you went in your camera roll, you had these videos where it was Junior being murdered from different people's phone perspective. This was before it even hit the mainstream, like literally the day it happened.
And Bathgate Avenue trying to escape, but the group dragged him back outside where he...
Right there, this is when he jumped over through there, through where the candy is right here. He jumped in through here, and then the guy pushed him back out, and that's when they grabbed him. And that's crazy, Chad, because the way they killed this little kid, he died a horrific death, yo. Like 15 years old, and he was murdered he was butchered like a piece of meat.
He was attacked with knives and a machete. He managed to stumble towards the hospital only a block away, but he collapsed before he could make it.
The brutal murder of an innocent Bronx teen finally coming to a close nearly 5 years later.
The last of the gang members found responsible for the death of 15-year-old Lisandro Jr. Guzman Feliz were sentenced today.
That's
the
crazy.
Trinitarios do have outside rivals, but in New York, most of their violence comes from internal splits. Some of these notorious Trinitario sets in Washington Heights include 7700, Los Malo Corita, and the Own Every Dollar or OED set to the north. Different sets can operate almost like separate gangs, and when those sets turn on each other, the violence can become just as brutal as the war with an outside rival. But even mapping the drill gangs across Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan, as well as the Trinitarios, there's still one criminal network in New York that sits in a category of its own. That criminal network is the New York City Mafia. To understand how the 5 Italian mafia families still operate today, watch my full breakdown.
Chat, I'm just telling you because this is the craziest shit. New York is just gangland. Like people be like, no, where did the gangs come from? I don't want the gangs in my house. Like New York was built on gangs. If you guys ain't never seen the movie Gangs of New York, then go watch that movie because it explains everything even before we knew about Bloods and Crips. Like this is just the way things are. You got to remember, if you don't know the rules to the game, you won't know how to play it. You want to stay out of the way of some New York gangs, or don't find yourself the target of doing some dumb shit that you cannot apologize to. Remember, this is like fucking cartels. At the end of the day, New York gangs are like cartels. You have to respect the territory you're in. You have to respect the people who are in hierarchy, because some of those people will take shit personal and then it could go the wrong way. It could really go left for you. You don't want to be barred from coming to New York. New York is the place you want to be able to enter. You understand what I'm saying, chat? Now let's just watch a little more. I see some on the dark world of the Mexican beach resorts. He got some shit called Los Angeles gang wars mapped. Oh shit. We could definitely get into those next time. He says something about the mafia. It would have been nice to finish watching that one. How did the musical festival trap 70,000? No, that's not what we're looking for. The 4 survivors of the Titanic. What? The 4 survivors of the Titanic. The dark world of the Mexican beach resort. How the dark web was created accidentally. How to escape North Korea. Why one wants to host the Winter Olympics. The Los Angeles Gang Wars. He got some good content, ain't gonna lie. He's got some good content in NYC. Man, that show was, you get a thumbs up for that. Facts on File. Oh, here we go. The Mafia, the new Mafia stealing islands. There's a new Mafia stealing islands? How long is this video? Can we watch this real quick? 15 minutes. You guys want to watch this real quick? 15 minutes. Let's go.
It's midnight on the northern coast of Jamaica. Out of the darkness, a massive fleet of heavy excavators and dump trucks storm onto the shoreline. This isn't a late-night construction crew. This is the Sand Mafia.
Sand, we are told, is a hot commodity.
First, massive excavators tear into the beach. They fill their massive buckets with the pristine Jamaican sand and dump it into the line of waiting trucks. These cargo trucks ship the sand to their storage spot and then come back for more.
Really?
The Sand Mafia doesn't just bring heavy equipment though. They also bribe local cops and politicians to allow their heist to happen rather than stopping it. By morning, where a 400-meter-long stretch of white sand once sat, all that was left was a jagged, muddy crater of excavated rock.
Oh, hell no.
But the strangest part of this story
Why?
isn't how someone stole an entire beach. It's why they wanted the sand in the first place.
That's a great
Because this heist at Coral Springs wasn't an isolated event. This was just one piece of a much larger criminal economy spreading across the globe. In India, illegal sand miners strip sand from riverbeds in the middle of the night. In Morocco, gangs carve sand from beaches. And for Indonesia, entire islands have been dredged away, changing the map of Indonesia overnight. And for the people who try and stop them, the journalists, police officers, and local residents, the consequences can often be deadly.
A 35-year-old journalist investigating illegal sand mining cases in the Bhim district of Madhya Pradesh was run over by a dumper under mysterious circumstances.
All of this raises a simple question. Why has sand become valuable enough to build a mafia around?
That is a great question. Can somebody please answer that?
What makes the Sand Mafia so strange is that their product is everywhere. Sand is on beaches, riverbeds, beneath the ocean, and all across the desert. It feels like one of the least valuable resources on Earth. But the Sand Mafia isn't looking for any kind of sand. It's looking for a special type of sand that the world is actually running out of. Take a look at these satellite images from a river in China. This is the Poyang River in China, and this is what the Poyang River looks like after illegal sand mining crews came through and extracted much of the river's sand. You can see that the banks of the river were widened significantly by the excavation crews that came through and extracted the sand from the riverbeds. This is a satellite image from October 22 that features the Betwa River in India. This is that same section of the river just 2 months later in December of 2022. Then 4 months later in February of 2023, and finally 6 months later in April of 2023. You can see massive sections of the river have been dredged, completely transforming the look of the river. You can find rivers that look like this all across Asia. Massive excavation lines ripping through the riverbed and changing the path of the water flow. And before we get into the actual system behind this, I quickly want to show you something that I've been using to make my finances way easier to understand. What I designed for sand is pulled up from the river bottom, piled onto the banks, and quickly loaded onto waiting trucks. From there, the trucks don't take the main roads right away. They move along smaller back roads that avoid official checkpoints. In some operations, divers are in constant contact with coordinators using phones and messaging apps, getting real-time updates on where police are stationed and which routes are clear. The destination for these trucks are typically storage yards or to a middleman. Here, the sand is mixed in with legally sourced material. After this mixture occurs, the illegal sand becomes nearly impossible to trace. And once this sand is mixed in with the other legally sourced material, it's getting sold into the real economy all across the world.
It's some business, Stu, it really is, because you think you're in the middle of nowhere, but this sand drives over to the Permian Basin and the business there is going gangbusters.
We use about 50 billion tons of it every year. That's enough to cover the entire state of California with sand every single year.
Every highway, every bridge, every apartment building, and every office tower relies on concrete. And without sand, you can't create the mixture needed for concrete. In fact, sand makes up a large portion of this mixture, binding together cement and gravel to create something strong enough to support entire cities. And in the Arab world, sand isn't just being used for construction in new cities. It's being used to create entirely new land. One of the clearest examples of just how much sand the modern world consumes can be seen in Palm Jumeirah in Dubai. To build this massive man-made island, developers didn't just need a few truckloads of sand. In total, hundreds of millions of cubic meters of sand were used to construct this palm-shaped island, along with millions of tons of rocks to stabilize it. And Palm Jumeirah is just one project. Dubai has built multiple artificial islands, each requiring enormous amounts of sand to create land where it was once open water. And as some places expand their supply of sand, others are getting stripped down to supply them. Across parts of India, Bangladesh, and Southeast Asia, sand mining has become a growing crisis. 20 to 50 million people in Bangladesh are projected to be displaced from coastal areas by 2050 due to river erosion and rising sea levels.
Wow, Chad. That's insane. That's just crazy it didn't get to me until
in parts of India, sand dredging didn't just reshape coastlines, but it nearly erased entire islands. Islands like Nipah were mined so aggressively that they were once on the verge of disappearing beneath the water, forcing the government to step in and rebuild them. Across the region, small, low-lying islands have been gradually stripped of the sand that once kept them above water until eventually there is nothing left. In Vietnam,
my thing is, why is nobody stopping these giant fucking, look, there's a fucking giant boat.
Vietnam's Red River Delta, illegal sand mining has turned parts of the river into an unstable construction zone. The Red River.
I'm beginning to think the government that they're getting this sand from has something to do with the situation being okay.
Delta is one of northern Vietnam's most important waterways, supporting fishing, farming, transportation, and dense communities built directly along its banks. But as the demand for construction sand has grown, mining crews have moved into the Red River Delta. Some of this mining is done legally, but what researchers have found is that these mining crews are mining the sand outside of their permitted sections.
You can mine sand here, but only to this depth or to that extent or this much. Those are the laws, but often there's a lot of money to be made by not following the laws.
The river sand isn't just sitting there. It helps hold the riverbed and its banks in place. When too much sand is dredged outside of the permitted areas, the bottom of the river drops, making the banks steeper and unstable. This means that farmland, roads, and homes begin collapsing into the river. Some families in this region have lost the fields that they farmed on for generations. As the damage spreads, locals have tried fighting against the sand mafia that's terrorizing their homes.
Yeah, people worried
but the sand mafia doesn't show any remorse.
The moment you take away a river's natural flow, a river's natural defenses, a river's natural ability to take the rain, harvest it, and then give it, what you're going to do is to cause death.
In 2015, a journalist named Sandeep Kothari began investigating illegal sand mining operations in central India. He wasn't just writing about the environment, but he was exposing the lucrative network behind it. Sandeep documented the trucks pulling sand from riverbeds, the people organizing the operations, and the way it all continued despite the laws meant to stop it. As his reporting continued, he started receiving threats. He was warned to stop his reporting or else he would face harsh consequences, but Sandeep kept reporting. But then one night in June of 2015, Sandeep was kidnapped. Sandeep was taken from his home late at night and forced into a vehicle. They drove him out of the city and towards a more remote stretch of the highway. Hours later, his body was found burned along the roadside. Police later said that he had been set on fire while still alive. Several suspects related to the illegal sand mining operation were arrested in connection to the killing.
What?
And cases like this aren't isolated. In many regions, the sand mafia relies on intimidation to protect its operations. Journalists have been threatened, residents have been warned to stay silent, and officials who try and intervene have in some cases been attacked. This intimidation and level of violence tells us something important about the sand mafia. It's not a small, unorganized group looking to make quick money. It's a much more sophisticated operation.
These days, mining for sand is almost as valuable as mining for gold, thanks to a massive construction boom. This operation is a very modest example, and Samira considers these fishermen not as criminals, but as victims of what they call the sand mafia.
At the bottom of the sand mafia are the actual workers. These are the divers, machine operators, and laborers, all the people who are actually the ones digging the sand out of the rivers and loading it onto the trucks. Above them on the hierarchy are the operators. The operators are the people coordinating where to mine, when to move, and how to avoid getting caught. In one case, investigators found that sand smuggling groups were using WhatsApp to track police movements. This allowed trucks to slip through checkpoints unnoticed and make their way to the riverbeds. Then come the middlemen. These are the ones that make the illegal sand look legal. The middlemen create fake documents, transport permits, and have connections to the buyers. And those buyers are the entire reason that the system exists. Along with the construction industry, many of these buyers include technology manufacturers.
They need to treat this like the RICO case, right? They need to just put everybody in jail who bought, the people who helped sell it, and the people who went and got it.
Sand is also used to make glass, which means it's inside windows, phones, and computer screens. And as artificial intelligence continues to scale, the demand for microchips and the silicon they're built from is exploding.
Wow.
Sand is used in these microchips too. Massive data centers, advanced processors, and high-performance GPUs all rely on the refined form of sand to function. I say the refined form of sand because it's not just any sand that can be used for these GPUs, construction, and all the other use cases of sand. The difference comes down to something that people would never notice: the shape and composition of each grain of sand. Sand from riverbeds are constantly being broken down and transported by flowing water. This makes riverbed sand much more rough, jagged, and irregular in shape. Those sharp edges allow the grains of sand to lock together when mixed with cement and gravel, forming a dense, stable structure that gives concrete its strength. Desert sand, on the other hand, has been blown around by wind for thousands of years. That process smooths the grains down until they become rounded and almost polished, like tiny spheres. Instead of locking together, those grains slide past each other, making the concrete weaker and more prone to cracking. So even though deserts are filled with sand, most of the sand there is practically useless for building. And that's why sand mafia isn't digging in the Sahara. They're going after rivers, coastlines, and seabeds, the exact places where the sand is strong enough to hold up the modern world. This tiny difference in shape is what's driving everything you see in this story. But what allows these operations to continue isn't just the increase in demand for sand. In many regions, illegal sand mining operates in plain sight because the people enforcing the law are often the same people being paid to ignore it. Local police officers are often bribed to look the other way as trucks move through checkpoints or as the illegal mining crews are out on the sand in the middle of the night. As mentioned earlier, in some cases, mining companies obtain legal permits for small sections of a river, then expand far beyond those boundaries. Investigations in parts of India have uncovered networks where politicians, local officials, and business owners are all financially tied to the trade, creating a system where stopping illegal mining would mean shutting down a source of income for the very people in charge of regulating it. This shows that the illegal sand mining system isn't just being ignored, but it's being protected. And with this protection, the illegal market is only growing. Each year, roughly 50 billion tons of sand are extracted around the world, mainly for building materials like concrete. But the rate at which the sand is being removed is far outpacing the rate at which rivers, coastlines, and seabeds can naturally replenish it. And over the next 40 years, global sand use is expected to double. The pressure on these rivers, beaches, and islands will only grow. In many places, that pressure has created the perfect niche for criminals. In some regions, experts estimate that 60 to 70% of the sand on the market was illegally mined. And because sand is a legal commodity, it doesn't trigger the same kind of global crackdown that narcotics or weapons get. So although sand may seem ordinary and abundant, it's actually creating a global network moving billions through one of the least regulated markets in the world. And right now, there's nothing slowing it down. If you want to...
Well, Chad, you already see the vibes, man. There's a sand mafia. So if you guys see a whole bunch of trucks in your beach lately dumping a whole bunch of sand from the beach into a truck, they might be taking your beach to sell it to Dubai. You already know, Chad. Drop a comment in the comment box if you guys feel any of this on the gangs in New York, gangs in all the different boroughs, as well as the sand mafia. And Chad, you already know it's your boy King Buddha, and I'm out. Yeah, still leaving. I'm out.